If you have a bad habit of seeking validation and that validation is there to fill a hole and a void inside of you for some level of fulfillment and it's not doing that and you want to change things, keep watching or listening. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today's episode, we're talking about 3 habits to help you stop seeking validation from others. That is such an important thing to do. Why? Because we live in a social media society and space where seeking validation seems to actually now be the norm. It's not like the exception to the rule, it's the rule. So at a high level, how we change this is number 1, find a craft and work your craft. Number 2, practice saying no. And then number 3, detach what you have to who you are. Detach that, right? So from a problem standpoint, I'll go through who this typically happens to, why it happens, and what it ends up doing. So I'm 33, so I'm in my 30s, and what I see is when we're, in our 30s, in our early 30s, we end up taking inventory of our life, right? We end up seeing what's been working well, what hasn't been working well. Have we hit these marks that we think that we should already, and these milestones that we think that we should have already accomplished? Has our bank account gotten to the level that it should be? Has our relationship been there? Have we gotten all of this stuff that should, I guess, prop us up to say we've done good so far, right? And so the problem with that is 2 things. 1, if we don't feel like we've accomplished those things, we distract. Or if we've accomplished everything and we're really, really set, we don't have any other goals to go for. So it's like, well, now we're kind of set in our ways. And now what do? We distract, right? Now, there's other reasons why this might be happening and why you might be seeking validation. A few things that I jotted down. You may be fearing rejection. You may be struggling with stress and anxiety. Anything that gives you some uncomfortable feelings. The easiest thing to, and the lowest barrier to feel a little bit better in the moment is really just to have somebody validate you, to have somebody say, you're great, or to have somebody really look at your life and really envy it, right? And then what ends up happening is when you're distracted, it moves you away from focusing on the root cause, right? So from a who standpoint, you might be in an area where you're like, dang, I have a lot going on and I've already kind of accomplished what I've set out to accomplish. What else is left? Or there's nothing that I've accomplished or that I've wanted to accomplish. So what do I need to do? I need to distract myself. And then when you distract yourself, then it moves you away from actually addressing the root cause, which is validation issues, which is seeking approval from other people, which you want to be able to seek approval for yourself. So that's what we're going to get into today. 3 habits that you can do quickly, easily, and you can start today to help you stop seeking approval from other people, because at the end of the day, you want to be happy with you. You want to make sure that as you're going through life, it doesn't matter what other people say about you. It doesn't matter how high they see you or how low they see you. You have an even keeled and positive view of yourself. So number 1 is find a craft and work your craft. So right now, what I'm working on consistently, obviously you all see podcasting, but I've realized that I'm in the IT space, and I've talked about this on other episodes, and what I'm really focused on doing is really helping IT professionals get their mental, physical, and health well-being back on track, because I've been in the IT space for over a decade, and I've seen that working those long hours and doing all of those, working on holidays, all of these things, and always sitting in front of a computer and everything, I've seen it deteriorate health. I've seen it deteriorate mental health, so much stress, so much anxiety. There's no time to do anything fitness-wise, so it also deteriorates physical health, and my mission is to change that and to change it in a space that I work in on a daily basis, right? So when you find your craft, it changes your internal feelings, right? The programs that I'm creating, the outreach that I'm doing, some of the things that I'm working on in that realm, it makes me wake up and get so excited to do so. It's the same feeling I get when I'm doing this podcast. I'm so excited to wake up and do it. And it has nothing to do with how other people see me, right? We're still in the phase, if you've been watching this podcast, like we're still not getting a crazy amount of views. I know full well it takes years in order for a podcast to hit a level of, viewership, if it is lucky to do so at all. But I don't do this to, get validation and approval from other people. I do it because I'm like, if it helps one person, boom, I'm happy that it helps one person. And it's also something that this is my craft. This is something that I love doing. So when you find your craft, it's going to open some level of internal excitement that is purely for you. You aren't even going to care about what other people think about you. You're not even going to care about whether people approve that you're doing it or not doing it. You're going to be so excited to wake up and do it. it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money's coming in from it. It doesn't matter if somebody says, "Hey, that's great, that's not great." It doesn't even matter how messy it looks when you're working on your craft, because at the end of the day, it's that internal feeling that you get of, I'm here, I'm supposed to be here. This is my craft, and I'm giving it 100% the best effort, and I'm doing it to the best of my ability because it's my God-given gift. When you work on your craft, the approval of other people, it just does not matter. I sat in a coffee shop yesterday for about 4 hours, and all I did was work on email workflows, and all I did was work on different health, mental, and physical wellness programs to really focus on an IT space that's going to be pushed out in a couple months. And I didn't care about anything else because I was so focused and locked in on my craft. You find your craft, you're not going to worry about what other people think. Number 2, practice saying no. So saying no to something is automatically saying yes to something else. This is an interesting story. It's actually something that I've never told because it relatively just happened. So over the Christmas holidays, one thing that I like to do is take Carly on a really nice, Christmas date, dinner date, right? So we'll go to a steakhouse, a really nice steakhouse. And that's just kind of been our thing. So in Dallas, there's a very nice steakhouse. So we pull up and right now, hey, I drive an 09 Honda Accord Coupe. Like, I'm chilling. It does what it needs to do. I don't care to have, the flashiness, or I'm like, hey, it is what it is. It gets me from point A to point B. Now, I say that because when I pulled up to that steakhouse, I had a very different feeling. Right? Because I saw all of the Rolls Royces, just everything. And instead of getting the car valeted, it was a very small space. I was like, I'm going to find a street park area. Right. And it was a time where I felt like very insecure. I'm like, I'm driving this kind of like older car. Like, we're pulling up this really nice steakhouse, and like, I have my beautiful fiance. We're dressed up nice. And I'm like, I kind of feel bashful, like hopping out of this car. Now, have I ever felt bashful about this car before? No, like, it just gets me from point A to point B. I value other things in life, right? But what happened was, at that time, it started running through my head. I was like, the times that I was going to upgrade my car and I was going to do this, and I can do it right now. And then, when I pull up here next time, it'll be different. And what it did was it spun me in this cycle of, this actually isn't for the transportation aspect. This is for when I pull up to a place, someone else can approve me, see me, say, wow, that guy, he must be a guy. He must be, whatever, this and that. And it had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with my relationship. It had nothing to do with anything that mattered at all, right? So what I'm saying, practice saying no is, again, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. Define your yeses. So if, for example, I said, you know what, the next day I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a new car and I'm going to do that, right? And what's going to happen is, from a monthly standpoint, more money is going to be going to paying off that car. So by saying yes to that, I'm starting to say no to other areas that I want to invest in. Going back to my point 1, I'm really working on a lot of that, the IT offerings for mental, physical, and health and health wellness, right? And that's it. That's investment. I'm investing in certain things. I'm investing in certain systems. I'm doing certain things. Same thing with this podcast. I work with Mason, right? Mason's my producer. Mason is a great producer. He's not free. So if I say, but you know what, I want to take that money that I'm doing, that I'm using to invest in this podcast, and now I want to put it in a new car because when I pull up to a place, I need people to think of me a certain way. Then I'm saying no to other things that I really are actual yeses in my life. When you figure out what your yeses are, that validation, it really cuts off areas that you feel that you need to be approved by other people. You immediately say no to it, right? Like taking on another big bill or whatever, it just doesn't make sense to me right now. Why? Because I'm enjoying so much investing in what I want to invest in that I'm like, this is a hard no for this time frame. Now, does that mean that it's going to be like that for life? No, absolutely not. But right now and where I'm at, it's a no. So I can say yes to these other things. So define your yeses, and then say no to the other things that don't matter. And what I'll say is, like, to this point is, I've realized this. When people post things on social media, I think that's where a lot of us struggle, is we see the cars, we see the this, we see whatever. And I've been somebody who's posted things like that. I've been, whatever. But what happens is we automatically think, because if we get a lot of likes or, some sort of interactions, that the person, or a lot of people viewed our story, that person viewed it, liked it, whatever. And that's all that they're thinking about all day. They're thinking about, wow, look at all of these things that I am. Look at my, physique, look at my car, look at my house. And it's like they might have just liked it, double tap 0.2 seconds and moved on. And it's never even a thought, right? So sometimes you're putting yourself in a hole for people and things that in reality, it's like they just might be doing things so mindlessly because that's the nature of the app, is just to scroll and quickly engage and move on for things that, really don't matter to anybody else and may not even really matter to you for an extended period of time. So the last thing, number 3, detach what you have and who you are. Detach those things, right? So I lived in San Diego for 7 years. I now live in Texas. The thing that I've realized that are kind of a little bit different is like San Diego is a beautiful area. Like it's coastline. It's that just lifestyle is a little bit different. And, I'm from the East Coast. People from the East Coast that I've, been around are a little bit different than people in the West Coast. Nothing is bad, nothing, no here nor there. But what I realize is lifestyle is different and value systems are different. And when you're in a beautiful area, it's really nice to be like, oh, I got this nice car to drive down the coast, and I got these things that I can do, and this place to be, and what to wear, and everything, because we're in this beautiful place, and it's more show-offy of a place than when I grew up in Virginia, right? And so what I realized was I kind of became accustomed to that, and I really thought that my worth was if I got all this stuff, then I would fit in well, and then that would make me approved by other people, and people would think that I made it. I almost had that feeling just by moving to San Diego. I was like, oh, I am somebody because now I live on the West Coast. Now I moved away from my hometown and I'm over here, and I prop myself up to be like, oh, I'm the fitness guy, I'm the this, I'm killing it over here. But in reality was I was just doing that to seek approval from other people. I wanted people to see me as, oh, the guy who, left the East Coast and now is living in San Diego and living the life and whatever. And some really cool things happened. They did. But at the end of the day, the bulk of my first few years out there, I felt lonely. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I was in a place that was home at all. I felt like I was just having fleeting relationships. It just didn't feel good because all I was doing was seeking approval of other people. I propped myself up on a social standpoint, but how I felt was way down here. And it wasn't until I recalibrated what I wanted to do. If you all have followed me for some time, you'll see the shift in content. I literally went from every day posting a picture of myself, a shirtless picture. Granted, I was in the fitness industry, but still doing those things for the likes, the comments, the DMs from women, all this other type of stuff, to like having a 1.5 year period where I didn't really post. And then now like swift transition to speaking, because I've always wanted to speak. I've always wanted to do this. And then what happens is you lose a ton of followers, everything. People are like, I followed you for this. And I realized I was like, but that's okay, because that wasn't who I even was then at the time. I wasn't that person. I was masking myself so I could get approval from other people, right? So you have to detach what you have and some of the things that you have from who you truly are. Once you do that, you're able to more comfortably step into who you truly are. And I say this, like, don't get caught up in social media and what people have, what people are doing, or whatever. Everybody is running their own race. Everybody is doing their own things. And so you have to do the things that make you happy. There are 7 billion plus people in the world, right? Like, we are literally a speck of a speck of a speck in a short amount of time frame of the whole, history and the future of the world, of the universe, right? So at the end of the day, I don't like to say you don't matter, but what I will say is like your issues and some of the things that you're trying to accomplish and whatever, like, they're minuscule in the grand scheme. And that's a good thing. And I say that not because, oh, they're small, but I say that because your mistakes of you trying something different that you love is even smaller. It's so small. So that's why I'm just hoping that this motivates you to really just get out there, try something new, not worry about what other people think. To run this down one time through, number 1, find your craft and work your craft consistently. Work it tirelessly, and I hope that your craft is something that you actually really love, because when you're working on it, you won't even feel like it's work. Number 2, practice saying no. When you say no to something, you automatically say yes to something else. Saying yes to something else is the strongest thing that you can do. And number 3, detach what you have from who you are. What you have, the stuff that can burn. At the end of the day, that stuff is not going to matter. When you are sick or when you are lying on your deathbed, you're not going to think, oh man, I really wish I just had all this stuff with me right now. It's going to make me feel better. No, you're going to want your close friends, your close family, and you're going to want to realize that, man, I've made a mark on this world by something that I've did with the gift that God gave me. So I hope that this episode helped you out. Look, if you enjoyed it, please like, comment, share, subscribe, send to a friend, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace. Thank you so much for watching this video. We have clips and content coming out every single week, full videos on Thursdays, and clips coming out almost every single day. You can subscribe to this channel if you like it. Also, please send it to somebody who you know needs this message or any message that you see, and we will see you in the next video.